Yo, what's good? Hi, my name is Abella Drago and I want to welcome you to another episode of the podcast. If this is your very first time, how have you been? How's life been? How is the streets of Twitter and your actual street if you do step out? Right, today we'll be talking about something very, very interesting, and I have an intellectual person here to guide us through this process. Right, but before we go into the actual conversation, if you're joining us for the very first time, I don't know where you've been all your life, but whoever recommended this podcast to you or wherever you got this podcast from, the person loves you, and I think you are in for an amazing ride. Right, for not our first timers or for our non-first timers, we're starting something very, very new. Right, I'm not going to really go into details so that I don't bore people that are here for the very first time. But essentially, it's where we make a tweet of the podcast, and whatever point that you hear that you're really fascinated, all you just need to do is hit pause on the podcast and just go to the tweet with your exact thoughts, and we'll share those words. We'll share your thoughts. We'll share anything that you see, your review. It's a way of us building community together. It's a way of also matchmaking if you want to get creative, because if you say, okay, you quote the tweet and say, I define wife, you understand? Ogbon, Mr. Sadiq, who come and put it out here that, Mr. So-and-so underscore Emmanuel underscore whoever is behind Emmanuel, if you're looking for wife, today is a lucky day. Anyways, we're going to come and talk about it on the podcast. And if a chick goes through your profile and, you are him, you are an Idon, you are winning my G, right? You cannot, you can also take it to another level by posting about your business when you quote the tweet for the podcast episode. So that said, today we're talking about how, or let me start like this, right? I don't know if it's just you, but the average Nigerian young person is not ready for the reality, which is life. And it's crazy how we're never prepared for it, right? I have an amazing person to join in on this conversation and shed a bit of light as to the academic route. I have none other than Mr. Fadlullah. Did I get that right?
Yeah, Fadlullah.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for hosting.
Let's do a bit of quick backstory here, so that everybody can be relaxed. If you're at home, you're watching, you're listening, you can also feel at home with the podcast. So, how did we meet again, Seth? I like to ask this question a lot because most of the time the podcast is my social life. So, how did we meet? I genuinely cannot remember.
Same here.
I know it's been years. I used to see you in school back in the day, but I can say back in the day now because it's been like 3 years. So rest 2 years technically. But I can say back in the day now. But I knew Fad from FNAB, and from the longest I've known that he's a business person, and I feel it's only fair that we have someone that is successful and to come and talk about this topic basically. So let's dive into it. I'm not going to bore you. Let's dive into it, right? And I'll start by saying this: why is it that the high percentage of people, or the higher percentage of students that are studying whatever, don't actually want to study or work with what they are studying, right? It's a different case to say, I finished school and I'm not working with what I studied, which is in my case. But it's a whole different ball game when you are in the system. You are spending 6, 7, 5 years, 4 years plus, Nigeria, whatever, in the system, and you are studying it, but in your full chest that you will never study or work with agriculture, and you are in the system. And it's crazy how that's the high percentage of people in Nigerian universities anyways. And the question that I'd like to pose to you is, why do you think that is?
Well, I think one of the major things that has made that a common belief is the social media.
Interesting.
And I feel like I like to say there's this popular quote on Twitter, dream day, reality save day. So a lot of times people believe that what is on social media is what works always, but there are sometimes that these things that are not practically you need to consider your own personal self, look at your own pattern of life, look at a lot of factors that revolve around you and your own personal interests. So the youth of nowadays, I believe many of us, even personally, when I got my admission, I never, for once thought I was going to probably work with. I was the kind of school has come. You get.
Did you know what you wanted to do when you got into school? Or what you are doing right now? Did you at the time know that I would be doing this, or you just said, "Oh, let me just."
So my story is a very long one.
Let's make it short because we want to.
Okay, so first, SS3, I was going to be an architect. So I applied for architecture for Federal University of Technology, Akure. For some reasons, I had to change my institution and my course. So I had to pick FUNAB, and because FUNAB obviously does not have architecture, so I had to apply for civil engineering.
Okay.
So at that point, I was like, okay, let me just go for this because that's like the most similar course to architecture, which is my dream course. So doing post-UTME, I didn't meet cutoff for civil engineering. I was given chemistry.
Okay.
So studied chemistry 100, 200. I was not fulfilled. I was not doing very well academically too. So I think first semester at 200 level, I just took that decision that no, I'm not happy where I am. I'm just even from SS1, I've not been a fan of that chemistry.
So this is news to me. I never knew that you had. I've heard of this story that people would like go into the university, spend like a year, 2 years, sometimes 3 years, and just go all over and start again. And it's just weird to me because why would you do that? Because even the course that you are migrating to, what is the assurance that not only will you find fulfillment in it, but you also use it to work?
So yeah, I think experience made me take that decision. Basically, I've always been doing business for a very long time, as far as I can remember, GS3. Okay. So I learned a vocational skill. I've always been working. I've always been making money before I got into uni. So my 100 level, it was just vibes. I was just not interested in academics. So I was a popular, should I say, believer of the school as scam, quote and unquote. Was it
this at this time when you hit this realization? Was it when you chose your second course, or was your chemistry when you were still in 200 level for chemistry?
When I was in 200 level chemistry was when I realized that anything worth doing at all was worth doing well. Okay. She understands. So I decided at that point that no, I need to as much as I'm committed to other things, digital skills, my business that I was doing then and all, I needed also to perform very well academically. And also I needed to have passion because I'm a type of person that if I don't have a passion in what I'm doing, I'm not going to do it very well. So I think that was the major factor that was responsible for me not paying enough attention to. I was missing classes. I was doing all sort of.
And this was in 200 level.
That was 100 level to
100 level, because the only time that as a student you get comfortable with missing class is perhaps your final year, your fault of your third year.
I did that right from 100.
So okay, so level. Walk us through when you now went to, just quickly.
So at that point I thought, okay, if I had to change my course at that point, definitely I had to do 200 level again. Okay. So it was at that point I knew, okay, I had that decision made to me because I know that the truth is if I continue chemistry, I'll continue to feel like a failure.
Chill. This is a safe space. Let's be honest ourselves. Did you change courses because of chemistry was very hard, or because you were failing, or because you just didn't like it? Be honest.
I think the 3 was responsible.
Oh, yeah. Stop answering like a politician. Be honest.
Okay, the primary reason is because I was not fulfilled.
Okay, if I post it online, nobody will believe you. Stop am.
All right, yeah, make I carry my results come. Everybody go believe at that time. I was not like failing. At least I could still I was still on good standing.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I was still on good standing, not as if I was like a failure entirely. Okay. But I was not fulfilled. I knew I'm not an average student. I knew that right from time. So like I know I'm above average.
So what course did you switch to?
Okay, now I'm studying home science and management, and I'm specializing in interior designing. So now I do interior architecture. Now relating back to the architecture that I was going to study at first.
To be very honest, I feel envious of people that seem to know what they want and they go for it. Because I'm not saying that it is bad or is good to be confused in life or something, but I've always learned on the job. I've always learned on the go. So people that whenever I hear someone saying, "Oh, I want to do this by this and this point and this point," and it happens or they do it, I genuinely respect them. I give you an example, right? So that we deviate a bit. I met this dude, Alex, amazing person in camp. Last year or 2 years ago, I think it was last year. And Alex said that he mentioned something like, "I'm going to get married by this period," and I was so surprised when he sent a picture of you know already engaged, and he's a young person. It's not like one old or like he's a young person, also business minded. That I know for sure. But when I see people say that, oh, this is what they want to do, and they are not capping, they genuinely mean it that they want to do this. I envy them, because me, I am learning on the job. I am learning on the go. I like to say that what I'm doing now in the next 10 years, I may not be doing it. So I like to keep an open mind, and I guess it's just a bit of appreciation for how, even though life threw you to the rough place.
So I was just going to say that I think it's with the storyline. It feels like I learned on the job too. So because I was already in the school system, that was when I hit the full realization. At the point where I had to change from FUTA architecture to FUNAB civil engineering, had it been I was so solid on me doing architecture, I would have gone for it, like regardless of the conditions.
All right, let's move on. There's this hypothesis that we have, the podcast content team, shout out Pelimi, that students, there are like 3 types of students.
Okay.
The student entrepreneur, which or the student creative. We have the students, the corporate students, people that are going to school to do a 9 to 5. It may not necessarily be what they're studying, but they just want to be able to show that, oh, I have this certification. You can trust me with your job. I won't run away with your money or whatever. And the last ones are the people that, the school has scam people. And I think you already clarified that you are the last.
I was the last.
You were. So what are you now?
Well, I'm the student. Should I say creative or business?
Interesting.
I
So
used to be the last.
why would you consider yourself that?
Okay, because even before, when I was still a member of the last, I mean the school is calm. I was doing business, I was doing creative works, I was doing marketing right from then, before I activated back that academic part of me. So
sorry to interrupt you. Let me just quickly give you a backstory as to what birthed this episode. Right, I know we are talking about school and academics and everything, but academics is just a section. Right, before Fad reached out to me that I wanted to have this particular episode, I sent a voice message to the team that and the voice message was like, I don't think I can find this, so I cannot attach it to this episode. But it was like, it's weird how we are never prepared for life. Young people, we are not properly oriented, and I got this realization when my younger sister was I think she's in SS1 or SS2 right now, and she's in commercial class. And it's crazy how those little nudges or decisions that we make as children is what shapes us to become adults. Because if I have a passion for engineering, and because of my parents make me go and choose commercial class, most likely I'm going to be in that route for the rest of my life. No, there is no body or organization that actually orients people that, oh, this is what you want to do, or this is what it entails. Another example that I'll give you is your signature, right? Or your email address. You never know how serious this is until you need it. A real life example is when I knew that my signature was like a big deal was when I was starting to, I think I wanted to register in a bank, and my mom had to like send my school fee. So I had to sign one nonsense signature. Apparently that's the signature that I have for the rest of my life. And nobody actually teaches these things. Like, we're not properly oriented into life. I just thrown into life, everybody to figure it out. Lastly, last example is email addresses, right? Email addresses is, most of us are still using pinky, whatever. You are spelling at that time. I also had it.
H, plenty R.
Me too. I had it. I swear to God, I still have it. It's what I use for my former Facebook, or my Facebook, anyways.
God.
And nobody actually teaches us this thing. We are forced to find out. And if it is not right, if for example I am sending an official email and it's that long thing, nobody will tell you that you are wrong, but they will look at you as very, very unofficial.
Yeah. Right.
And this is something that at one point, I don't know whether there has to be a body that needs to cater for this. And this is one of the things that also birthed the episode. I'll end with this particular illustration as well. Choosing university is not a child's play, right? This particular example, I have seen it time and again. Most of the time, I've seen people get jobs simply because they went to Unilag, and this is no cap, right? Because of the employer is a fellow alumnus from Unilag. They look at, bro, they just, bro, exactly. That Covenant too. Covenant boys, no wine anybody. Covenant boys, don't worry, don't let me mention some names. But the point is, like, nobody is actually telling us that these things are important. Some of us just, for me, I chose my university because of condition. I'm not going to go into the full story, but I spent 3 years at home. I had first chosen Adekunle Ajasin. I failed. I got like 33%. That was my first year out of school. The next one was I chose FUTA. Alright, and for some reason I made the cutoff. I wasn't given the course. I went for mechanical engineering. I wasn't given. I switched to civil. I switched to food science. Wasn't given any. Right. Next year was when I applied for FUNAB, and I was given. I applied for computer science. I was given statistics. Got so good. It was that particular year that was not posterior me. It was just screening. Right. And even though upon still I failed. I know that I failed that screening. No. Because I had been so anxious that I was like, okay, so what thing I could do? Because I wasn't properly taught how to speak in front of. It was a panel of like 5 old men or 6 old people, not like old people, but like really matured individual. And I did not know what to do. They asked me, what have I been doing for like 3 years of my life? I had forgotten. I could not collect my words. I could not collect my thoughts. I bombed. It's only God that knows, because I entered, it was the last list. Me and my guy, his name is Fadu. His name is also Fadu. We were in the pre-degree campus where we saw our name in the main campus, and we just switched. So this is just to illustrate that nobody, and this is me giving a real example so that it doesn't look as though we are like diving into students too much, right? And the reason why we kind of went in the student route is most of our audience is young people. So either you are a fresh graduate, you're about to enter school, or you are in school. This particular episode or this podcast is going to be highly informative for you. So genuinely, I hope that you find time to listen. If at any point you are bored, you can you can go away, come back, take a walk, perform some physical activity, and let's just get back into conversation. Basically, I'm so sorry that I drove you out of the direction. Exactly. So I mentioned something that, we have 3 kinds of students: the student entrepreneur, the corporate student, and then the school nurse count people. And you said that for you are the student entrepreneur, right? I was the corporate student in my 100 level. Okay. After 100 level first semester, bro.
Switched to
school nurse count. And for me, the story was I was reading. I did go night class. I did jack. It was statistics. Statistics was like the only course in school that in your first year you are writing exam, like you are doing written. You did solve my first 100 level first semester. I had like 5 written courses, right? And I hated chemistry, by the way. And you were giving chemistry. I hated chemistry. So excuse me. Chemistry was one of those courses for me. And in my mind, I did well. When I saw the results, 100 level first semester was one of my lowest, if not my lowest result that in my school year. Like, it was so bad. The second semester, you know what? I said, I'm going to try something. I wasn't going to read up until a week to lecture free week. I had this ritual where instead of lecture free week that I started to read, I started reading a week to lecture free week, because there's always that one nonsense course that will take you the whole lecture free week to read if you're not careful. So I usually read that course the week to lecture free week, and then lecture free week, and then lecture exams. That was when I started reading, and I realized that I started passing more because test period was close to exam. Anything I read for tests most likely go still hang around in my brain, and then exam. So I will play my ass off in school. I'll play me and Razak. That one's another story entirely that I'll talk about very soon. Me and Razak, we play. We go play. We don't go even do anything. If we are going to night class, we are going to, and this is in the past life, we're going to womanize. Okay, let me speak for myself. Don't let me ruin Razak's reputation. That time I had a girlfriend.
100 level.
I was the guy. Don't play with me. Before, okay, so the gist is, before we even started registration, actually, before Stay Lights resumed, I don't already kind of get babe.
Doing
so I've always been that guy that it's not been a problem. Right. Till now, it's not really been a problem. But and this is not to toot my own horns, right? This is to show that I never took school seriously up until maybe when there's exams, and that was when I know that okay, that time I was in school as scam, and then I moved to corporate student. I knew that okay, I just wanted to take this course and maybe I'll end up in HR because I did my intern in HR and I was like, oh, HR seems like a very good idea. I might try it at one point. And when I go back to school, I then became the student entrepreneur, right? I've always been creating. And when I say entrepreneur, I don't mean the business side of things. I mean the creative side of things. I've always been creating. This podcast has been in existence than 3 years. Before the podcast, there was another talk show on my WhatsApp. I've been creating content for almost 10 years now, and I'm not exaggerating, right? And I've been doing it for people too. And I started to monetize it. Lockdown was a lot, right? My girlfriend in my 100 levels last 200 level broke my heart. I've talked about this story long enough, it's cliche. And that was what drove me into social media, and it drove me into content creation. And, that was how I started. That was how I joined the student entrepreneur in my 300 level during my IT period, and lockdown hit and I needed to do something to make money. And in my 400 level, I don't know how I passed the 400 level I know how I passed. It was Ayomikpo and Samuel and Sonny and Ibire. Those three people. They will come for my house. I'm so sorry. The joy of the podcast is to tell stories, so I like to tell stories. They will come from my house. We'll come talk, say, okay, this what is it called? This course, we go break them into 4. You read this one, you study this one, you study this one, you study this one, and then we have summary that Yasmin needs to send. So sometimes we didn't even touch the course, we just read summary. Right, we were so cooperative. STS 2020 set. We are one of the most cooperative set I've ever seen in my life. All of us doesn't write notes. Just one person or few people write notes. And you will write notes. We go snap your note, turn out to PDF. And if you know that you are making summary, you are going to snap that summary and turn it to PDF. And that was how most of us passed. So this person will read, that person will read. The 4 of us will go read, and they will come my house, food day, everything day. Just read, no worry yourself. That was how I was able to finish school without entirely failing. Not like I failed anyways. But that is my story of me climbing from school as scam, from corporate to school as scam, then back to corporate, and then student entrepreneur. Which will lead me to my next questions, right? The point that you are at right now, the student entrepreneur that you are at right now, you're a business person. How did you? And I know you've actually given us a big bit of story, but just go into a bit more details as to how you have been able to carry school and then business, and then where the businesses that you work with or at.
Okay, I think that's about 2 or 3 questions in one.
Yeah.
All right. So the first one, how I transitioned. The first, I would say, it was. I can't really say this is what made me change. But okay, fun facts. I'm from an academia home. So from very little, from a very young age, I've always known the value of being having knowledge and belonging to the academic.
Monsi was a professor.
Both.
Is it in the same school?
Yeah.
No.
Yes, now.
Wow. Interesting.
So, I've always been in the academic environment, so I know it is very, very important. But because at some point, from that I appreciate that thing that you mentioned at some part of the story, that there's nobody that really orientates people on, okay, this is what you should do, when you mentioned the example of signatures, email addresses and all. So I think proper orientation was lost at some point. Mm-hmm. For some reasons, my parents had reasons for me to, be around, school. They did not want me to go so far from home. All those African parents thing.
I never actually experienced it, but go ahead.
That I had that at that point. So that was one of the major reasons why I had to school around, and then picking civil engineering, not getting it, made me like entirely lost interest, exactly nonchalant about academics at that point. And then chemistry was not even encouraging. So it was that course that was too abstract. So I had a problem with, I still do. I have problems with abstract. When
you say you still do, that means you are in school.
Yeah, I mean
you are still in school
I'm
right
still
now,
in school.
and you are still in business. Show them your phone. Let them know that you are not a small person.
No.
But go ahead.
So abstract. I have problems with abstract. So I think that made me lost interest entirely in chemistry. So at that point, I was still in chemistry. I was not concerned about academics. I was just pursuing I had one thing with me then. If I was not doing what I was actively doing in school, that's academics. If I was not doing it, fine. I had to be excelling somewhere else to complement that loss. Yeah. So that was the reason why I gave it all, my digital skills and my business. At that point, I was doing my business, I said I learned a vocational skill. Yeah. So I was making products, I was selling it with my digital marketing skill.
Don't sound like every social media guru out there. Show the workings. Reality is day. How you TikTok? Imagination day, reality day. So by skill, what skill did you learn? People could actually learn from this. What particular skills?
Shoemaking.
And you used it?
Yes, I learned shoemaking for 3 years. I did freedom. I did proper learning.
At what point did you learn? Were you already in school?
Okay, that's another story. So after my GS3, every parent that's at that point, I think it was a trend. They take their words to learn computer and all
computer training.
Computer training. So the last day, the day I finished my paper, I was like, I was not going to do computer because it was just, I'm not a fan of the crowd movement. I like to take my own decision. And if I was going to do computer then, I think that was one of the reasons. If I was going to do computer, it felt like a cliche. That's because everybody's doing it. So I wanted to do something different, number one. Then number two, I think I had this brother then that had a shoemaker friend. The guy I went to his shop with him, and then I saw the quality of the shoes that he was making. So I was very, very encouraged and then I also wanted to be on the streets. So that was one of the factors, I wanted to have that.
But is that not weird as in form of let me properly articulate the question. Coming from a home that both of your parents are professors, did you face any form of resistance to say no child of mine would learn shoemaking? Because I can't believe that I've spent 10 years of my life, both of your parents, by the way, not one, studying in the academic space.
I did a lot, even till I finished. I was this special, even where I learned with my boss, I was this special apprentice. Because no. It was there, but I never felt like it. Because I knew what I was there for. So I was just doing my own thing. Because I know that I have my life to live and it's not my parents. You understand? So yeah. I already had that thing in me. So that was one of the things that made me pick shoemaking. I did not end up learning from that person, but I learned with someone better than the person I saw, and then it was a very fantastic experience for me. So how did you in school you were making shoes? Yeah, 100 level.
Crazy.
Yeah, I was, because where I learned is not so far from school. I live in Abeokuta.
Okay.
So where I learned is also very close to the school. So I'll just leave school, go to my workplace, make some shoes, bring it back to school. I was staying in the school still. So I knew some people from my department, from my hostel, and
So can I ask you something, right? And I think this is in everybody's mind, right? Okay. And it's not much of a ask, but it's just more of the generation that we are in, we are a very proud one. We don't want to be seen starting. We don't want to be seen doing, menial jobs, right? And it's always very weird because social media has portrayed that if I don't have an amazing shop, right? An amazing setup, which by the way, podcast setup. If I don't have a mic, I don't have a this. I don't want to start, and that was it for me too. I didn't want to learn something because first of all, in my mind, and I can't believe I'm saying this, right? But fuck it, I'm gonna say it. I've always felt like I never belong in this country. Because, okay, my English was proficient than, for the most part of my life, my English language and the way I articulate myself, the way I speak is more proficient than the average place that everywhere I've been to so far, like my primary school, secondary school. And I learned this from movies, by the way. I watched a ton of movies, channels, 11 p.m. at night, Smallville. I saw everything. And I learned how to speak better by just barely saying movies without, leaving the four corners of this country. So for me, I always felt like I never belonged in this space. I identified as a Canadian. so how what would it be said of a Canadian to be learning a menial job, right? So for me, I knew that my pride was or could be the death of me. So I felt like I had to learn something that I could still be proud, but I didn't have to do the hard work physically. And so I turned to digital skills. I turned to social media management. I turned to content creation. I turned to using my brain power because, okay, I could speak, I could write. So let me just try some things, write for people for free. And, it turned into an actual job. I still cannot believe that I made a shit ton of money from social media or I've made a shit ton of money from podcast because I've never actually taken it seriously. That's the crazy thing. Like I've never not like I've not taken it seriously, but I've not worked like where our parents used to work. I just used to do it because it's just one of those things that when somebody tells you that they are willing to pay to learn, you look at it like, oh, this thing is simple now. I still see myself as a designer. Like if you tell me that you want me to mentor you, bro, this thing is not hard. Don't worry, I'm a guy. We gotta run now. But if you tell me that you want to pay me, I will look at it that this is. I don't rate some of the things that I know. Is my point, right? Back to my train of thought. I did not want to do all of these physical activities as such. I went into digital skills. I went into skills that, it may be cliche, but I would do something to stand out. I would binge on YouTube videos, watch a bunch of them and just be good at what I do. I'm not saying that I was the guy or I was on the dong, but I was able to do enough to get by. And to the glory of God, I think I stopped collecting money from home in 300 level till now. Right? This is not to say that anything is bad deal. I just made that resolution that just right? So now to the question. For people that don't want to do physical learning, right? Like me, what do you advise they do? Because truth be told, I proud though. I not gonna lie, give you. I proud. And for me, it has been a good thing. It's equally been a bad thing. Sometimes it gets in the way. But I see myself as that guy that how is that song? Or whatever. But I just feel I'm the guy. I am him. I've always had that energy all my life. And it could be the death of me. But I try to find the borderline. But let you answer the question. What do people now do if they don't want to carry out this they don't want to have to go to shop or do training or have to go and be washing car for Oga or some of those things? What would you say what's the routes that they could try?
Yeah, definitely. I understand the points, and yeah, because I have experience of both doing manual. Well, I feel like the word manual is relative. So it depends on, number one, is a function of where you are, what you have experienced over time, and then what you see walking around you. So if you say something is I'll tell you, washing cars to some people is like the job. Sure. I've had conversations with most especially Lagos transporters while I was in Lagos. I do have conversations with them, and you would see how much some of them are dreamt to drive a car from Island to Oshodi. Like it's like a dream come true for them. So that's interesting. That's what I'm saying in essence is that everything is a function of what is around you. Personally, because I've done vocational jobs, I'll still do if I have the opportunity to, and maybe at some point, definitely I'll still do, because all of these things are their factors. So I would say that life is going digital, right? And then many of these things we have seen in the past couple of months, artificial intelligence doing a lot of things, replacing humans in their jobs. That is if you follow digital trends. Yeah. So I think the first thing is that for everything that you are doing as human right now, you need to find a way of, doing it. Number one is more like easier way of doing it, a better way of doing it, like a way to be more efficient in doing that particular task.
Okay.
So on the long run, by the time you are accumulating all of these points, you see that you are tending towards being digital in what you are doing. So for example, if you used to be like a shoemaker that uses hammer, use cutting scissors and all, but you start to watch YouTube videos, you see advanced countries, the way they do their things, your ideology is going to change, because there are digital ways of doing these things now.
Sure.
So it's not about like the vocational thing. It's about finding a way to do it better. So regardless of what you are doing, I feel like there's always a way that is not so dirty of doing that particular thing. I've always watched, even when I was doing shoemaking in those years, I would not present myself as a shoemaker. I would always, is this shoe engineer or something? Because I wanted exactly, I wanted to brand myself. Because definitely learning marketing, learning all of these things, I knew that I had to brand myself better. So I believed in doing it, in a different way. Even shoemaking, you watch videos, you see the machineries that these people are billionaires. I knew that it does not matter the industry you are working in. So, but then, doing it digital is the main thing. Going into the digital space, making sure that you are doing it, faster, easier, better, more efficient.
Okay, let me just quickly add right there that in my 3 years of experience as a designer, by the way, I just got here, right, in design space. I just got here, right?
3 years.
He's not too long now.
All right.
So, right, I've seen that you can never be the best. And it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Whatever thing you do, be it social media, be it menial job, you can never actually be the best. You're always going to see someone do things better. I'll give an example. If you are a designer, I'm sure design Twitter is a very, very rowdy place, to be very honest. If you're a designer, if you work for a multinational, a very big firm, you're going to see a lot of people take your own work and show you 500 ways that it can be better. 500 ways that you fucked up. 500 ways that if you're not careful, you could lose your job because of one smallie that's trying to. An example is Payday now. Payday is. I'm not trying to advocate for them or say that they are good or whatever. I'm just saying that Payday suffered in the end of design Twitter because designers will say, "Oh, I designed Payday, or I made Payday better. I this one, that one," and genuinely, you are going to see a lot of people make innovative choices, like will make their interface better, make Payday the whole experience better. So how would you think the person who actually stressed designer would feel if he is not confident in what he did? And let me just chip this in. I heard this quote a couple of weeks ago that confidence is not about telling yourself affirmations in the mirror every morning. Confidence is having a stack of undeniable proof that you are indeed who you say you are. So if you say that, okay, you want to do this, you want to become a social media person, how can you make social media better? Now, the best way that you can grow as a social media person is be in this space a while, where I work with people, solve problems. See, and Yoruba has this adage on Okonwoja, right? Even if you are a designer, other things may make you just run out, right? Because we are in this country, you cannot to call yourself one thing is a crazy thing. Tolume made a post recently that at this point, is there anything you want me to be? As a designer, I can be a brand designer, I can be a UI designer, I can be a UX designer, I can be an interactive designer, as long as I can solve your problem. So first of all, learn skills that require that people are going to need it. No matter how much you want to build a product, you're going to need an interface designer. Even if you want to use AI, even if AI did, you at one point there's some things that you might want to tweak for your own personal self that you will need the help of someone that has had experience in that field. And your boy is here. If you need design gigs, you want to have a startup, this is me, shooting my shot. But that is it. Now, the bigger part of the podcast, we're coming to it and also coming to an end as well, is internship, right? Internship was one of the things that drove us to have having this conversation. And let me ask you what role the internship has played for you to get into where you are right now. And I would just ask you this as well. So 2 questions: what role internship has played for you? And I know that you work with a popular yogurt brand.
Yeah.
Give me money if you want to mention the name. I'm looking for money. I need to monetize this podcast ASAP. People should subscribe on my YouTube and everything. But I see that you work with a popular yogurt brand. If I mention it, everybody knows it's a very, very popular yogurt brand in Lagos, Nigeria, even in the whole of Nigeria. And tell us the story of how you got the gig, and what role internship played for you to get into where you are, even minus the yogurt or plus the yogurt.
Okay, I think that yogurt is just
a side gig. Jesus. Do you know what? Calm down. Let me offer context. It's as if you are working for a multinational and you are saying is that not just side gig. So you understand what the main gig will be.
Don't make it sound that way. Don't make it sound that way. So the yogurt brand basically is a business. I won't say it's I just bought a franchise of the business.
You bought a franchise of the business.
So I like.
Could you explain that?
Like, it's just like Domino's and other big brands. The way they have like production units, and then you can buy a franchise to set it at your own space. So you register as a franchise, they give you rules and regulation on how to run the brand, and then the store specification, all of those things. So I applied and I bought the franchise.
So this is an investment opportunity. I have a lot of young people that has this bag, but they don't know what to do with it. So again, you are still going to come to the internship question, but could you walk us through the process of how you applied, how you even knew that a position for that particular part is available, that you could become a franchise of your own?
All right, so it has always been a long term, because all the time I've been doing digital. Since I left my shoemaking, I've never done like any physical business. So I've been making money from digital, and at the point I felt like a part of this money should go into, because definitely, like, we've seen a lot of digital things fail, and as financial advice is that definitely, as you have some things that are going to make you more return, you need to have something for security reasons, just to fall back on when you are probably you have some financial difficulties, or you have some emergency spends, stuff like that. So I've always had that in mind, to have a physical business. So it was the capital that was the major delay for about a year, or less than a year. Let's say a year. So the capital was the delay because they had like the minimum that you can do. Definitely to own a franchise, you need to buy your own space, have like the
So can I just can you please indulge me by stating the amount? You may not necessarily have to like state the exact amount, just give us a range, because I'm asking this so that if I know of people that are saving, right? And at one point, the savings get to somewhere and they just look at the money. And obviously, you cannot just go and throw it in an investment portfolio, because how much will 10 million do in an investment portfolio? Let's be honest. You have one kind of company money, like $200 million. That is where you can now start to say, okay, that kind of investment will pay. So if you could, help out or indulge me with the range.
On an average, you spend 700 to 1 million.
Okay. So
reason because you need to get like basic infrastructures or facilities like your freezer, your store, the rental or purchase of the store. You do stocking. Definitely, you have to buy products. You buy generator to power.
Did you actually study all of these things? Like, when I say study, how people go to business schools to understand business models and everything. On our streets, you learn how.
Yeah, like early part of my entrepreneurial days, I've always been reading books. Robert Kiyosaki happens to be my, I read a lot of his books. Rich Dad Poor
Kiyosaki.
Dad.
I know the guy.
Yeah, Robert Kiyosaki. So Rich Dad Poor Dad, Second Chance, and books like that. So, well, and practical, definitely I've been in vocational skills. So I've seen business work. I've seen, how you make money, how you reinvest, how business is going to sustain, definitely all of those things. So it's not like I studied, but yeah, it was an experience.
Can I just quickly put you on the spot? I'm so sorry I keep interjecting you, but you keep saying this really great stuff. And can I just quickly put you on the spot and say, if I can get about 5 people to come to you from the podcast, would you teach them? I won't say how to start a business, but kind of offer your service as a more seasoned person in the business space. So if they say, "Oh, I want to start a business, I don't know what to do," could you help out with, maybe 2 calls, consultation calls? Is it possible? Is it something that you can do? I'm putting you on the spot so that if you not answer, you feel bad.
That's going to be a pro bono.
Exactly. So.
All right, then that's a go.
So you heard it first here. If you are listening on YouTube, sorry, you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. If you have plans on starting a business, you want to know how it works, please reach out to me or just send a message to the podcast on Twitter at the Star Podcast, THESTAAR Podcast, or on Instagram, Shaking Tables with AA Podcast, or just send a mail on shakingtableswithaa@gmail.com that you'd like to register. Just 5 people. So the very first 5 people. I know how difficult it is to take actions from when you're listening to a podcast or when you're watching. If you are listening to and you're washing plate or something, to get your hands on wet, dry, and then reach out, it can be something. But this is something that will add value to you as a young person. If you are struggling or you just got out of school, you don't know what to do, it's an opportunity to learn. Please, I've done my part. God knows I've done my part. So yeah, please go ahead.
So at that point, it was the capital that was the major delay, and then I think late 2020? Yeah, late 2020 or early 2021. I can't remember exactly. Oh, the business just got 2 years. So that means it was around March 2021. So a friend of mine approached and he had what I did not have. That's the capital. So it was just like, you have the money, you want to invest in something that will, keep making more money for you. So, and it was a very good friend of mine. So I decided to give him the idea. So, and I was working alongside with him. So he had the money, he had the capital. So we just sat together, drew all of the business plan, expenses, everything. We went on a trip to the company, made necessary inquiries, do all of the documents, came back home, all the documents, all the requirements. We basically fulfilled everything, checked for space, do all of those things, fulfilled all necessary things, and then we submitted, and then it was immediately they granted the approval.
So you're saying that the business is about 2 years now?
Yeah, it's 2 years, over 2 years now.
That's crazy. And it's something that I'm envious of, to be very honest. I think at one point I'd like to invest in something physical. So if you are hearing me, you have an idea and you don't know, I may have don't look down on me. It go shock you. Don't look down on me. I think get the capital. Understand? Tech bro doings. Okay, I'm just joking. But genuinely, I'd like to, try something physical. If it's something that you want to try, you have a couple of ideas, and you think I won't run away with your idea. If I have to sign a whatever they need to call it, I will sign it so that I don't steal your idea, right? So now to answer the main question, which is what role does internship play, in kind of building people's career?
So I think I've had maybe 2 main internship stories. Or say 3. The first one should be that of shoemaking, which I don't count. Presently I don't. It's not. It's not a huge part of me right now. So, but the second has to, and the major one has to be the one I just completed last year. That was 2022, and it was my kind of academic internship. So as I said, I study home science and management presently, and I major in interior designing. That's I do interior architecture. So At that point, definitely like for every 4 years course, that is it every 4 years course, science course, that you go for IT?
I think it's your third year that you go for IT.
Yeah, so at my third year, I knew I was going to go for IT, and then at that point, I told myself something, and I told everyone around me the same thing. I'm that kind of guy that is either I don't do it at all, or I do it very
go all in.
All in. That's it. So at that point, a lot of my friends in department, they were like, okay, they are internship, because my specialization is clothing, textile, and interior design. So major. In fact, we don't even have any lecturer for interior design in our department. Majority of them, all of them, are clothing or textile. So all of my mates were going to do their internship at the rest, or fashion designers or tailors or whatever. But then I was like, no, I'm going for interior, and then I was not going to do it in just any other place. So I wanted to go for the best. And then definitely in Nigeria, that no, for interior design space, if you understand how it works, that the market is not so big in other states. Just like 2 or 3 states in Nigeria has that big market for interior design. So
Lagos and Abuja, basically.
Definitely. Because
that's past Lagos and Abuja.
So if there's going to be any other third state.
And this is not to say any state is inferior, please. I'm just saying that one is
like,
more.
Definitely, other people do interior. But okay, interior in other state maybe very cutscene.
Are you whining me? Interior in some part of Nigeria. Wait. Let me shake this table. Let me talk. Interior decoration in some part of Nigeria is gold everywhere. Gold plated everything.
No.
I'm not going to. But you know where the place is. I'm not saying. You know where the place is. I'm just saying. Yeah, go ahead. I'm just joking.
So yeah. So basically, I wanted to go all in, and then I just did it. Like I did it, and I was able to. So, and it kind of sets the track for me. And right now, I can't say right now I've started my journey in interior designing, because I'm still, I'm still occupied with a couple of other things, inclusive of my academic study. So, for now, I would say I'm not fully an interior designer yet, but it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. So, and internship has been that eye opener for me. I'm happy that I was intentional about it, and it's worked out very fine for me.
So this may not be my story to tell, but I'm just gonna tell it. I hope that when he listens to this, he gives me the blessing. I should have asked for the blessing. And yeah, there's a friend of mine. His name is Shijibomi. Reached out to me. He wanted to be a part of the team. Where we knew each other in school. Studied mathematics. We knew each other in school, but we're not like really that close. But we are guys now. All of us be guys. So I don't know. It was just weird. Then they said they wanted to be a part of the podcast team, and it was. And we got closer. And it was time for his NYSC. This is to show that it doesn't really matter when you are starting, right? It was time for NYSC. He was very intentional about where he would do his NYSC year, his service year. And he was so intentional that at one point I thought it was crazy. I'd never told him this, so this is the first time you're hearing Ishiji. I thought it was crazy because it was like, he doesn't want this company, he doesn't want this one, he knows what he wants to do. And he got a company that he wanted. And that was the first time he got into tech. Right? He was forced to learn code. Like, he was forced to learn it. He learned a lot. He would come to meetings and he would just be exhausted because of his boss has told him to go and learn another language. Right? And this was just last year. So this is not like really far-fetched. Right? Recently, he rounded up this NYSC, and I would say for someone who started last year, Umboy is doing well. And this is to say that even if you don't want to start this thing, bro, just go and pick JavaScript. Sorry, my English was gonna fail. God will now let you. I'm good, right? Just go and pick JavaScript. Like, you cannot just pick JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and then JavaScript, or React, or whatever. But the point is, you can start where you are. I still saw a tweet yesterday of it wasn't a tweet. I think it was a space that I just joined, and I heard this is a global technical person in front end, I think, or just full stack, and was saying that he started learning at 30, right? He works with 22-year-olds that are coding, but it doesn't really matter when or where you start. The problem or the thing is just to start, right? And again, this story of Sijibomi was to tell you that, or is to tell you that at any point you can start, and you can, you may not necessarily be smooth, but please just start, right? We're rounding up. Let me just ask you a few questions, and I'll be out of your air, right? First question is, so what is the next thing for you now, right? I like that you are aware that you are not there yet. I like that you don't see yourself as, oh, this is a successful person. So you're not coming to talk as though you are talking down on people. We gotta figure this life thing out, right? But for you, what would you say is your next step?
I have like 10 next steps. So I think the first next step is for me to graduate first. I don't tire.
Okay,
so that's
fair enough.
Academically. Then for marketing, I have a company I work in and I'm also a partner of a partner in the company.
Wow, I mean, not a partner now. Come and give me connect. Let me have passive income now.
I hope that after school I can focus better, because currently school is, choking,
taking your attention.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope that after school I can, have more time and take my company to the next level. Also, as an interior designer, I have goals. I have quite a number of things that I've seen, and I've bookmarked them. That okay, these are the things that I also, by the side, I do travel and tours, local travel and tours. So there's a brand that a friend of mine and myself, we run together. That's La Voyage. So it's like a tourism company.
Okay.
So there's a slight intersection between tourism and interior designing that I have like
exploring.
Exactly, that I'm looking to explore, which is like an untapped market in Nigeria. So that's also like the next thing for me, and quite some other things.
Let's not understand, right? But let me just let me ask you this. I will also answer the question of what my next step is, so it doesn't look as though it's an interview. So if you were to sum up, just give an advice to people that are just starting. It could be for people in the university. It could be for people that just want to get into the university. It could be for people that are just about to start the NYC. What would it be? Excuse me.
Okay, I think that would be my display picture for over 5 years.
Which is
just do it. Yeah.
No lie.
Just do it. Okay. Because I believe that everyone has that thing in him or her that you've always wanted to do, but because for a reason or the other known to only yourself, you probably have not told anyone about that thing. But by the time you ask yourself, Akin Alabi says this thing very, very often, and he quotes it in his book too. Says, by the time in 15 years or 10 years time, that particular thing you are giving yourself excuse or a reason for not doing it at that point, you now realize that, okay, let's say for example, he gives this example of school. Say for example, because you are 30-year-old, you say you don't want to go to school, that because school is going to take another 5 years of your life. You realize that by the time you clock 35, you still look back and then you've not gone to school. So just do it. Don't don't let. So far is a genuine. You've accessed the aspiration or your interest, and you feel like, okay, yeah, that thing is the right thing.
So this is going to be my final question for you. So in the case of when they are working, because we are going to be honest, working and learning or schooling is hard, right? You can imagine me having, or don't let me say me, because now they will think that I have this thing. Imagine a tech bro or somebody having 5 gigs that is, he has to put food on the table. Maybe he's even a family man, and then he's seeing that the space that he's in next 2 years, AI will collect all his work, and he's trying to learn something new. But the time that you will take to run around and actually work, that's taking enough stress out of him to even learn the new stuff. So what do you think you can advise people on that side?
I feel it's simple. Like logically, you prioritize.
It's not as simple as it sounds.
Yeah, definitely. Like just prioritize, because on the long run, that's the answer. Either you want to do this, do that. Any theory they will give you, it still comes down to prioritizing. Okay, which one is the AI going to wait? No. how many years? 2 years. Okay, before that 2 years, are you going to be done with school? Just calculate. Do okay. Then prioritize how much of your time can you give to this thing? How much of your time can you dedicate to this? I've seen a lot of okay. Let me just chip this in. I'm in my finals. Someone from the sets that just graduated, I've known him for over like 4-5 years now in school, and then all through the time that I've known him, he only runs a business throughout school. He runs a business, and that business is the one that he used to cater for himself and do all of those things. But the old tech noise has never got into his head. He runs a vocational business, Adulthood to be precise. So, but he's a first class graduate. He graduated with the first class, and then immediately, the week he finished his final exams, he approached me and he told me that now I'm ready to go into tech. That's a decision that he must have. Definitely, it means that over that time, it's not as if he never had interest, but he was able to control himself that, okay, no, not yet, and then I'm still going to do it. I gave this guy, we had a consultation session, I gave him a list of skills, did his SWOT analysis and all, and then he picked one. Believe me, I sent this guy materials. After 4 weeks or 5 weeks, he picked data analytics. Bro, he sends me an Excel sheet that he worked on. I was like, because you can see that the dedication and everything is there. The same energy that he was putting into academics to get himself a first class, he reserved it and he poured everything into data analytics. And right now he's doing fine. I'm not sure if he has gotten a job. We've never had a conversation about jobs or whatever. But then that's a case study.
So this is not to, let me just interject here, and this is not to say that life is not hard. Life is hard. Life can be hard,
definitely,
right? You could have it, people have it crazy. Personal lives could be crazy. Work, your boss could be grinding down your neck, and I understand how it can be, but at the end of the day, I think you should know that it's your life, right? You need to take the reins at one point. And to answer the question that I asked him, so like I said, it's not going to be like an interview. For me, the next step is I have a few things that I hope to achieve. Something that I have seen as a designer is what makes your portfolio really good is not how well you designed it. It's how many products you've actually worked on, how many people you've worked on, how many people can vouch for you. And for so and so period of time, I am dedicating myself to working with products, working with product owners, building products so that I can buff up my portfolio and then take a couple next steps, which I will not, I cannot say everything, understand. But that is what I intend to do. So if you have a product, and this is to chip that in, if you have a product that you want to work on, you have the funding, because, or even if you don't have the funding, you can reach out to me. If it's something that I feel like it's possible that, money can, let me to be a partner now, like this my one here, right? And the next question that I also asked him was, what advice would I give people? Me, I don't know, because some people's success has been a product of just sheer luck and grace, right? This is not, I've seen people that they did not carry themselves serious. It was just one thing that one friend will say, okay, yeah, let's do this thing. And they just reluctantly did it. And it worked, right? Just like, people that would not read for exams, but will still come out in flying color. Abdul Razak, I'm calling your name. Or there's some people that, some things just come to them naturally. So understand your own person and treat yourself accordingly. You need to start to be intentional about life. You have to be intentional about your day, right? This is not to say that I think there's an illustration, a perfect circle and an amoeba kind of amoeba, an amoeba type circle, right? So a perfect circle, that's the illustration. That is what people think discipline and hard work is. It's not like that. It's actually an amoeba type thing, which means that on some days it's going to be low, on some days it's going to be high, as long as the circle meets. So, as long as he meets where you start, or you are able to, as long as it has to make sense. And this is not me saying that, I am where I want to be. I am nowhere near I hope to be 2 years after my university. But we thank God for life, right? So, with these few points of mine, I hope we've been able to convince and not confuse you that, being intentional about your internship, being intentional about some things would actually go as far than you realize, right? This has been a very genuinely amazing conversation one of the best ways in which you can support us is by rating the podcast on whatever platform you're listening. If you're listening on Spotify, please rate us 5-star, because how can we be the star podcast? You cannot give us stars. Closing. What's the problem now? Give us stars. Also, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you can also drop a rating. Spotify, you can drop a comment on Apple Podcasts too. We've not received a comment in Apple Podcasts for about a year now, and it's just it hurts me whenever I see. So please drop a comment on Apple review. It means so much. Same thing for Spotify. And also, you can quote the podcast, like I said, quote the podcast on Twitter. Lastly, excuse me.
Sir.
See, you will not pay me for this. Okay. Lastly, you can, like I said, you can quote the podcast on Twitter. Lastly, please take a screenshot. Even if you don't want to do all these things, this is a lot of work. Please take a screenshot and share on your social media platform, your Instagram story, your Twitter timeline. Share this post with people. I'll give you a testimony. Victor shared a podcast, the podcast episode a couple of episodes ago. I don't know if he shared it on his story or he shared it via his DM, but he sent it to somebody, and someone reached out to me that, oh no, she wanted to start a podcast. We had a consulting section or session, and I told her that the next time we have this conversation, I'm going to send her my invoice. I'm open to hear her voice and hear her again, so that she can give me money. But this is to show that a lot of things happen when you actually share the podcast and talk about the podcast. Also, we are open to taking sponsorship. If you want to sponsor the podcast, reach out to us at shakingtableswithaa.com. So sorry, shakingtableswithaa@gmail.com. Website is coming soon, so I kind of really surprised. But yeah, that happened. Lastly, I wanted to say that I've totally forgotten what I wanted to say, but thank you so much for listening. If you've listened this far, it means plenty. Fad, thank you so much for coming. I'm hopeful that this can be the start of many. And like I said before, if you are looking to start in your business and you want to, get a bit of insight, because he's been doing it for 2 years. At the very least, the 2 years would have given him experience. If you don't trust his, if you're not sure, or you don't trust his credibility, 2 years of doing something, even if it's nonsense, you are going to be less confused. So 5 people for free reach out to us on the podcast, and would hook you up. Okay. If there's any other thing,
can you use another word? That hook up. No hook them up.
Okay. We'll link you. we go link on our up. All right. I feel like I'm missing something, and it's going to be really hurtful when I remember after. And I swear to God, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember. But thank you so much for sticking around. Please, I cannot overemphasize this. Please share the podcast. Shout out to Victor again. I wanted to mention his name. Victor shared the podcast to Victoria. Oluwanifemi shared the podcast to Adedoyin. We're going to be doing this where we're just like trying to build a community. So please share your thoughts on the podcast. We don't know too much. If there's anything that we could have missed, please drop us a comment. There's going to be video on YouTube, so if at all you want to feel at home, you want to eat popcorn, whatever, please. And the setup is actually very mad. I can't wait for you to see the video. This is one of our best shot video ever. Okay. Till we meet again next week. Yeah, I don't remember. Oh, I was stalling. I don't remember. So I'm looking to taking radio tours. When I say radio tour, I think I'm making it complex. I'd like to be on radio shows. I used to be on radio at one point. I was on FNAB radio. I was in Yabatech radio. Don't ask me how, but I was there. I was on both radios as host and guest as well. And I would like to try radio one more time. But I don't want to go through this stress. So I don't. When I say stress, I don't want to have to audition and everything. You've seen my podcast. If you need me to come and do interview, I can do it. I don't necessarily need to have to be paid, but I feel like my voice is meant for more than the podcast. I'm not saying that the podcast is low, but I want to reach a larger audience. And what are my interests? My interests are music. I genuinely, because this is not that I'm a music A&R person. I just like music. I hear tumba, I hear trap, I hear 21. Right? I'm listening to everything. And I feel like it would be fun to talk about it. As you can see, that we've had a conversation for almost 1 hour. I can hold a conversation. And more importantly, I think I want to start talking about tech. right? I want to start to defeat the imposter syndrome that creeps in every once in a while, that, oh, I just got lucky. So I want to have, just talk about tech, talk about product design, talk about the role that product design plays in building a product. And I don't know who is listening. I don't know where you're listening from. If you know somebody that knows somebody, please, my Instagram is Abiola. My Instagram is adragbemi_AA, right? Or my Twitter is same thing, adragbemi_AA. That is ADURAGBEMI_A and A. I am very optimistic that something is birthed from this particular episode. That said, thank you very much. Most importantly, remember that you are a star, and stars don't stress or shine. They just shine. There is more space in the sky for stars to shine. Stars will shine. The sun is actually a star. If you're not aware, this is a fun fact. The sun is a star. So please and please, in whatever thing you do, whether it be menial, vocational, technical, digital, just make sure that you are doing something different. Make sure that you are shining. I can't wait to hear from you on social media. I can't wait to chat with you, because sadly the podcast is my social life. I don't go anywhere anymore, so I have time to meet wife. Sorry. I wish I could take that back. I'm joking. I am joking.